Part 2. I should have known peace never lasts forever. Should have remembered that happiness makes you vulnerable, gives you something to lose. But I'd gotten comfortable in our life, settled into the rhythm of loving Marcus and being loved in return. So when the knock came on our door on a Tuesday afternoon in late spring, I answered it without hesitation, without that old instinct for self-preservation that had kept me safe for so many years. The man standing on our porch was beautiful in a way that made my stomach drop. Tall, impeccably dressed despite the rural setting, with sharp cheekbones and eyes that assessed me in a single glance and found me wanting. He smiled, but it didn't reach those eyes. "You must be Ethan," he said, extending a hand. "I'm Daniel Reeves. I'm here to see Marcus." Something in the way he said Marcus's name, familiar, possessive, made every protective instinct I had flare to life. "And you are?" "An old friend." That smile again, cold and calculating. "Is he here?" Before I could respond, Marcus appeared behind me, probably drawn by the unfamiliar voice. I felt him go completely still, felt the tension radiating off him in waves. "Daniel," Marcus's voice was flat, emotionless in a way I'd never heard before. "What are you doing here?" Daniel's smile widened, genuine this time, though no warmer. "Can an old friend drop by? It's been, 5 years? I was in the area and thought I'd see how you were doing." His eyes flicked to me, then back to Marcus. "Though I can see you've been busy." The insinuation in his tone made my blood boil, but Marcus stepped forward, placing himself slightly in front of me. A protective gesture that would have been sweet if it didn't feel so ominous. "We should talk," Marcus said quietly. "Not here." They walked toward the barn, and every instinct screamed at me to follow, to demand answers, to protect what was mine. But I also trusted Marcus. Trusted that whatever this was, he'd handle it and then tell me the truth. I lasted exactly 15 minutes before I couldn't take it anymore. I found them in the barn, standing too close, Daniel's hand on Marcus's arm. They sprang apart when I entered, guilt written across Marcus's face in a way that made my heart stutter. "Everything okay here?" I tried to keep my voice neutral, but it came out sharp. "Fine," Marcus said too quickly. "Daniel was just leaving." Daniel looked between us, something calculating in his expression. "Actually, I was hoping I might stay for dinner. I've driven a long way and I'd love to catch up properly. Get to know the man who finally tamed Marcus Chen." Tamed? Like Marcus was some wild thing that needed controlling. Like our relationship was about possession rather than partnership. "That's not necessary," Marcus started, but Daniel cut him off. "I insist. After all, Marcus and I have so much history. Don't we love?" Love? He'd called Marcus love. The casual endearment hit me like a physical blow. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Daniel." "It's fine," I heard myself say, even though it absolutely wasn't. "You're welcome to stay for dinner." I turned and walked back to the house before either of them could see how badly my hands were shaking. Dinner was excruciating. Daniel dominated the conversation, telling stories about his and Marcus's time together in Wyoming, dropping casual intimacies that made it abundantly clear they'd been more than friends. Marcus barely spoke, pushing food around his plate, while I sat there trying to process the growing dread in my stomach. "So, Ethan," Daniel said, turning his laser focus on me, "Marcus tells me you two met in high school. How quaint." "We were best friends," I said, meeting his eyes steadily. "Then we lost touch, found each other again." "How romantic." Daniel's smile was sharp. "Though I have to say I'm surprised Marcus settled down. He was always so restless when we were together, always talking about the next adventure, the next opportunity. I assumed he'd end up in a city somewhere, not buried in the middle of nowhere." "He's happy here," I said, more defensively than I intended. "Is he?" Daniel glanced at Marcus, who was staring at his plate like it held the secrets of the universe. "Marcus, are you happy here?" The question hung in the air, loaded and dangerous. Marcus finally looked up, and when his eyes met mine, I saw something that terrified me, doubt. "I'm happy," he said, but there was a hesitation in his voice that hadn't been there before. Daniel stood stretching. "Well, it's getting late. I should find a hotel." "Stay here," Marcus blurted out, and my heart cracked. "We have a spare room. It's too late to drive into town." I wanted to object, wanted to demand that this man who was clearly trying to destabilize everything we'd built leave immediately. But Marcus was looking at me with pleading eyes, asking me to trust him, and despite everything, I did. "The spare room is at the end of the hall," I said stiffly. "I'll get you some towels." That night, I lay in bed beside Marcus, both of us staring at the ceiling in the darkness. The space between us felt like an ocean. "Talk to me," I finally said. "Who is he really?" Marcus was quiet for so long I thought he might not answer. Then, "We dated for 2 years. He wanted me to move to Denver with him, start a business together. I said no because I couldn't stop thinking about you, about us, about the possibility that maybe somehow we could find our way back to each other." "You never mentioned him." "I didn't think it mattered. It was over years before you and I reconnected." He rolled onto his side, facing me. "Ethan, he doesn't mean anything to me anymore." "Then why did you look so uncertain when he asked if you were happy?" Marcus flinched. "Because he has this way of getting in my head, of making me question everything. It's part of why I left him. I was losing myself trying to be whoever he wanted me to be. I wanted to believe him, wanted to ignore the sick feeling in my gut that told me Daniel's arrival was going to change everything." "I love you," Marcus whispered, reaching for my hand. "Only you have to believe that." I squeezed his hand, but I couldn't bring myself to say it back. Not because I didn't love him, I loved him more than anything, but because I was suddenly, terrifyingly aware of how fragile our happiness was. The next morning, I woke to find Marcus's side of the bed empty. I found him and Daniel in the kitchen, heads bent close over coffee, speaking in low, intimate tones that stopped the moment I entered. "Morning," I said, and hated how cold I sounded. "Morning," Marcus jumped up, guilt written across his face. "I was just making breakfast." "Daniel and I were discussing a business opportunity," Daniel interrupted smoothly. "There's a ranch in Wyoming that's looking for partners. Prime land, excellent reputation. I thought Marcus might be interested." My blood ran cold. Marcus has a ranch. "This one with me." Daniel's smile was all sympathy. "Of course, but surely you can understand the appeal of owning something that's truly his, not just sharing someone else's dream." The implication was clear. I'd built this ranch alone, and Marcus was just living in the life I'd created. And the worst part was, there was a grain of truth to it. I'd established everything here before Marcus arrived. His name wasn't on the deed. We talked about making it official, about making him a true partner, but we hadn't gotten around to it yet. "This is Marcus's home," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "This is our life together." "Is it though?" Daniel leaned back, casual and confident. "Or is Marcus just playing house in your life while his own dreams gather dust?" "That's enough." Marcus's voice cut through the tension like a knife. "Daniel, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not interested. This is my home. Ethan is my husband, and you need to leave." Daniel stood slowly, never breaking eye contact with Marcus. "Think about it. That's all I'm asking. You have my number." He grabbed his jacket, paused at the door. "Marcus, you know I still love you. I never stopped. And I think part of you never stopped loving me either." He left, and the silence he left behind was deafening. "Ethan," Marcus started, but I held up a hand. "Did you," my voice came out barely above a whisper, "did you ever stop loving him?" "That's not fair." "Did you?" I demanded, louder now. Marcus ran his hands through his hair, frustrated and anguished. "I loved who I thought he was, but what I felt for him was nothing compared to what I feel for you. You have to believe that." I grabbed my coat. But right now I need some space. I spent the day riding the fence line, checking for damage that didn't exist, desperate to escape the suffocating weight of doubt Daniel had planted in my chest. By the time I returned, the sun was setting and Marcus was on the porch, waiting. "We need to talk," he said as I dismounted. "I know." We sat on the porch steps, not touching, both of us staring out at the mountains that had witnessed our entire relationship. "I called a lawyer today," Marcus said quietly. "Asked about adding my name to the ranch deed, about making this officially ours, not just yours." I turned to him, surprised. "I should have done it years ago," he continued. "But I think part of me was afraid that if I pushed too hard, asked for too much, you'd realize you didn't need me, that you'd been fine alone and would be fine alone again." He finally met my eyes. Daniel showing up, saying those things, it made me realize I've been holding back, not fully claiming this life because some part of me still felt like a guest. "You're not a guest," I said, my voice rough with emotion. "You're my partner, my husband, this is your home." "Then prove it." The words came out almost desperate. "Make it official. Not because of Daniel or his manipulative bullshit, but because we both deserve to stand on equal ground." "Done," I said. "We'll call the lawyer tomorrow. Should have done it years ago." Relief flooded Marcus's face. "Thank you." We sat in silence for a moment, then Marcus said, "He called me tonight, after you left. Said I was making a mistake, that I'd wake up one day and realize I'd sacrificed my dreams for yours." My stomach twisted. "What did you tell him?" "That my dreams changed. That building a life with you is the dream, that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." He took my hand. "I told him not to call again, blocked his number. He's part of my past, Ethan. You're my present and my future." I wanted to believe him, and I did believe him. But Daniel's words had lodged themselves in my brain like splinters, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. I was right. 2 weeks later, Marcus came home from town with an envelope. His hands were shaking as he handed it to me. Inside was a business proposal, detailed, professional, compelling. Daniel's ranch partnership opportunity laid out in black and white. Prime land, excellent profit projections, and a personal note at the bottom in Daniel's handwriting. "This could be yours. All you have to do is choose yourself for once." He had it delivered to the feed store, Marcus said, his voice tight with anger. "Made sure everyone saw, made sure they'd ask questions." "What kind of questions?" "About whether I was leaving, about whether we were having problems." He crumpled the envelope in his fist. "He's trying to force my hand, make me choose publicly so there's no ambiguity." "So choose." The words came out harsher than I intended. "Tell him no, tell everyone no, make it clear." Marcus looked at me and there was hurt in his eyes. "You think I haven't. You think I want this. Ethan, he's trying to destroy what we have and you're acting like I'm complicit." "Aren't you?" The accusation slipped out before I could stop it. "You let him stay. You had coffee with him. You still have his number saved somewhere if he could send you this." "I blocked him." "But you didn't throw the proposal away." I gestured to the papers still clutched in his hand. "You brought it home. You're considering it." "I brought it home to show you." Marcus's voice rose. "To be transparent. But apparently, honesty just gives you more ammunition to doubt me." We stared at each other, both breathing hard, the space between us filling with all the insecurities and fears we'd tried to bury. "I'm sorry," I finally said. "You're right, I'm letting him get in my head." "We both are." Marcus set the papers down, came to me, cupped my face in his hands. "That's what he wants. He wants us to tear each other apart so he can swoop in and pick up the pieces. We can't let him win." I pulled Marcus close, holding him tight. "I love you, I trust you. I'm just terrified of losing you." "You're not going to lose me," Marcus promised. "Not to him, not to anyone." But the damage was done. Over the next few weeks I noticed Marcus pulling away. Not physically, If anything, he was more affectionate, more deliberately attentive. But emotionally, there was a distance that hadn't been there before, like he was protecting himself, or protecting me from something. I found out what 3 weeks after Daniel's visit. I came home from repairing the north fence to find Marcus on the phone, speaking in low, urgent tones. He hung up quickly when he saw me. Who was that? No one, feed store confirming our order. It was such an obvious lie that it hurt more than the truth might have. Marcus. He sighed, ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I'd learned meant he was about to say something difficult. It was Daniel. Before you get angry, just listen. You said you blocked him. I did. He called from a different number. Marcus held up his hands. He wanted to apologize, said he'd been out of line, that he shouldn't have interfered. He asked if we could meet. Just to talk, so he could get closure. And you said? I said I'd think about it. The words hit me like a punch. You'd think about it. Ethan, if I refuse, he'll keep pushing, keep showing up, keep trying to destabilize us. But if I meet with him, let him say whatever he needs to say, maybe he'll finally leave us alone. Or maybe you want to see him. The accusation hung between us, ugly and raw. Marcus's expression hardened. That's not fair. None of this is fair, I was shouting now, all the fear and anger I'd been holding back pouring out. That man shows up out of nowhere, tells you he still loves you, offers you opportunities and dreams, and suddenly you're taking his calls and considering meetings. How is any of that fair? I'm trying to protect us, Marcus shouted back. I'm trying to end this before it gets worse. By lying to me, by sneaking around, I grabbed my keys. I need air. I need to not be here right now. I drove for hours, ending up at Jake's place in Wyoming. He took one look at my face and handed me a beer. Trouble in paradise. I told him everything. Daniel's visit, the business proposal, the secret phone calls. By the time I finished, Jake was shaking his head. Man, that's rough, but here's the thing, you're playing right into his hands. What do you mean? This Daniel guy, he's counting on you being insecure, counting on you pushing Marcus away so he can slide in and be the understanding, supportive one. Jake leaned forward. Marcus could have left you dozens of times in the past 10 years, could have responded to Daniel's advances, could have taken that business deal, but he hasn't. He stayed. He's chosen you over and over. When are you going to start believing that? The words hit home. I'm scared, Jake, scared that I'm not enough, that this life isn't enough. Then talk to him, really talk. Stop letting your fear drive the bus. I drove home that night, arriving around midnight. Marcus was still awake, sitting on the porch in the darkness. When he saw me, relief flooded his face. I thought you'd left, really left. I sat beside him. I thought about it. Drove halfway to Montana border before I realized I was doing exactly what Daniel wanted. Ethan. Let me finish. I took his hand. I'm sorry. I've been so focused on the possibility of losing you that I haven't been seeing what's right in front of me. A man who's stayed, who's fought, who's chosen this life every single day. I let fear make me cruel, and I'm sorry. Marcus's eyes were wet. I'm sorry too. I should have been more transparent. Should have told you the moment Daniel first called. I was trying to protect you, but I just made everything worse. So what do we do? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, I'm going to meet with him, one time, with you there if you want. I'm going to tell him clearly and finally that what we had is dead and he needs to move on. And then we're going to block every avenue he has to contact us, and we're going to move forward with our lives. I wanted to object, wanted to forbid it, but I also knew Jake was right. I needed to start trusting. Okay, but I'm coming with you. I was hoping you'd say that. We met Daniel 3 days later at a neutral location, a diner in the nearest town. He looked surprised to see me, but recovered quickly, that calculating smile sliding into place. Ethan, I didn't realize you'd be joining us. Where Marcus goes, I go, I said evenly. That's what partners do. We slid into a booth, Marcus and I on one side, Daniel across from us. Physical division that felt appropriate. So, Daniel said, after we'd ordered coffee none of us would drink. I assume you're here to tell me to stay away, that I'm the villain in your little love story. You're not the villain, Marcus said quietly. But you're not part of our story anymore either. Daniel, what we had was real, but it's over. It's been over for years. I'm grateful for what we shared, but I've moved on. I've built a life with Ethan that makes me happier than I've ever been. Daniel's mask slipped, showing genuine hurt beneath the calculation. Happier? Marcus, you're living on someone else's ranch, working someone else's dream. How is that happiness? It's our ranch, I interjected. We're filing paperwork this week to make Marcus a full partner. But even if we weren't, even if my name was the only one on the deed, it would still be ours. That's what love is. It's not about possession or ownership. It's about building something together. How poetic, Daniel said, bitter now. But here's what I know, Marcus. You're going to wake up one day and realize you settled. Realize you chose safety over ambition. And when that day comes, I won't be waiting anymore. Marcus stood, pulling me up with him. Then I guess it's good I'll never have that day. Goodbye, Daniel. I wish you well, but this is the last time we'll speak. We left him sitting in that booth, and as we walked out to our truck, I felt something shift. A weight lifting, a door closing, a chapter ending. That night, we made love with an intensity that felt like reclaiming something that had been threatened. Afterward, lying in the darkness, Marcus said, I need you to know something. What? There was a moment when Daniel first showed up when I wondered. Not whether I wanted him, I didn't, but I wondered if maybe he was right, if maybe I had given up my dreams to live yours. He rolled to face me. But then I realized this is my dream. Building this life with you, working this land, waking up every morning next to the person who understands me better than I understand myself. That's the dream. Everything else is just noise. I kissed him slow and deep. I love you, and I promise from now on I'll trust in us more than I trust in my fear. Deal. 6 months later. The paperwork was filed. Marcus Chen Morrison was officially co-owner of Highland Ranch. We'd hyphenated our names, both of us taking a piece of each other as our own. Daniel hadn't contacted us again. We'd heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd moved to Denver, started that business he'd always talked about. I hoped he found happiness, hoped he found someone who could give him what he needed. But mostly, I didn't think about him at all. What I thought about was the expansion we were planning, the new barn we'd break ground on in spring, the life we were building together, not separate dreams merged, but something entirely new created by both of us. One evening, as we worked side by side in the barn, Marcus said, You know what the best part is? What? Knowing that even when things got hard, even when someone actively tried to tear us apart, we chose each other. We fought for us. That's not something everyone can say. He was right. We'd been tested, pushed to our limits, and we'd survived. Stronger, more certain, more committed than ever. Thank you, I said. For what? For staying, for fighting. For being the kind of man worth fighting for. Marcus grinned, right back at you. As we finished up our work and headed toward the house, toward dinner and conversation and the comfortable intimacy of another evening together, I thought about everything we'd been through. The blizzard that brought us together, the doubt that nearly tore us apart, the love that held us through all of it. This was our life, hard one, carefully built, absolutely worth it. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But that's not where the story ends. Because just when we thought we'd weathered every storm life threw us something neither of us saw coming, something that would test not just our relationship, but everything we believed about family, love, and what it means to build a future together. Want to know what happened next? Hit subscribe, smash that like button, and comment. Sometimes the biggest challenges don't come from outside your relationship. They come from having to decide what your relationship will become. Marcus and I thought we had it all figured out. We had no idea how wrong we were.